One of the things we did 2 years ago was redevelop our mission statement. Our mission statement says to provide all students the opportunity and support to achieve excellence, develop responsibility, and to become lifelong learners. Get this to work, maybe. A little bit about the history of the high school. Okay, the original high school, Geneva High School, was built and opened on February 6, 1975. It cost $1.4 million. It's 68,000 square feet. It still is today. The first graduation class was May 18, 1975, and we've done no renovations in that 37-year period. We have put new bleachers in the gymnasium. That's probably the most substantial thing that we've really done in that time. Back in May of 2008, we did a study of the downtown gym and senior center. It was conducted by Grant Krieger and some other engineers out of Lincoln, Nebraska. What they found was that the building was really pretty structurally sound. Pretty well built building, but that to bring it up to code, it would cost a little over $1 million back in 2008 to bring it up to code. It has some problems with mechanical codes, electrical codes, and certainly it's not handicap accessible. Okay. When we looked at the downtown gym and the board at the time and I had the discussion, we saw other things that were what we considered to be problems. Number one was it's not located, we don't have anybody down there, it's not located next to one of our buildings, so a lot of times it gets vandalized, things like that. We have to transport, or students transport themselves to and from practice. Okay? We have certainly some scheduling conflicts and some challenges, but I think the biggest issue with putting $1 million into the downtown gym is the fact that it's connected to another building that we don't own anymore. Okay, so you know, you put $1 million into something and it's connected to something that you don't own. Okay? So that was an issue at the time. Still is an issue. Okay? So we developed a facilities committee, and we had the principals invite 10 parents from that represented their buildings, and we started meeting. And our goal at the time was to try to find an alternative solution to the downtown gym. Could there be something that we could do better? Okay? Basically a gym and 2 locker rooms was the facilities committee's start of this process. Okay? And they toured some schools. I know we went to Dorchester School, we went to Friend, we went to Centennial, we went to some schools that had done some similar projects to what we were looking at. And they also looked back at 1975 when the school was built to 2011-12 where we're at today, and they compared the number of activities that we offer now compared to then, or the number of youth programs that use our school now instead of then. And it was 4 or 5 times more than what we had in 1975. And that led us to some of our scheduling conflicts. We also did a climate survey this fall. We had 103 parents respond, and we had them list these 7 items in the order of performance, the order of importance to them. You know, what's most important to you? And what we found out was that the performance theater was the #1 ranked priority to most of our people, followed by practice gym, and you can see the order of importance. We had them rank at 1 through 7, and then just figured out the average. So out of 103 responses, the performance theater was the most important one, although fairly close with the practice gym. A little history then of how we got from there to here is the facilities committee met with the board last March and asked them to proceed with whatever it took to present something to the people. And so the board hired Clark Henderson Partners and Sampson Construction and the Emeritus Investment Firm, and we worked with them and we met with them at some public times and meeting times, and we developed the current project that we have right now. And the board passed a resolution in January that said we would have a vote on March 13th 2012, which is less than a month away. And here is the basic project. We can come back over these pictures later if you'd like to, but there is a major addition to the north that consists of a gym, 2 locker rooms, a weight room, and a wrestling room. There is an addition to the south, which is basically the Performing Arts Center and the band and music room. And then there's renovations to existing science rooms, putting in a corridor and adding some room back to our wood shop, changing the family consumer science and art rooms. We also would be sprinkling then the whole building, also putting a sprinkler system in. Okay? Which is part of the project. Whenever you renovate a building, it's pretty much what the fire marshal is making you do now. And there it is, kind of from a above ground outside view again. The lower southern part is performing arts, the top part is more athletics, and then a little bit of the change in the parking lots, etc. Academics, we're going to renovate, we'd like to renovate the science classrooms. Certainly things have changed in the last 37 years, and so we need new equipment, new technology, new learning tools. And it's also been a recommendation from our safety audit that we get every year that we upgrade some of our safety equipment in the science room. The industrial tech classroom, originally back in 1975, we didn't have a weight room when the school was built, and weight fitness classes have become more and more important. So part of the industrial tech shop was turned into a weight room. Well, we would like to turn it back into the wood shop classroom if we get a new weight room. Right now they share a classroom with the ag classroom, so they would have their own classroom now. And also to renovate the family consumer science lab, it would about increase the size of it about one and a half times. There's kind of a picture of the building with the lid off, or the top. Okay. Again, I could come back to any of these pictures later, and most of them we have up here also. Performing arts. We have, I think, a really valued performing arts group of students and activity sponsors. Our speech team is one of the best in the state, same as our one act, same as our band, same as our choir. It's something very, very important to our students and to a lot of the people of Fillmore Central. And the Performing Arts Center would be a place to both perform and practice. It would also be a place where we could have school district-wide assembly, a K-12 assembly. It could also host community events and NSAA and district events. We already host a lot of NSAA speech and one act already, and we would certainly continue to do that. Okay? The new band and music room, we feel like that's necessary because the current one is too small. It's also not handicap accessible. We would also put the band and music room right next to the Performing Arts Center. So that would always also be nice to help increase practice and rehearsal time. The new art room would be where the former band and music room was, and we'd relocate that. We'd have to relocate it mainly because of the corridor that we're putting next to the gymnasium. There's another picture of what would be the theater or Performing Arts Center from the top. Athletics, new practice gym would be a consolidated site for high school practices. Basically all of our high school practices could be up there at the high school now, whereas right now our wrestlers go to the elementary gym and our girls and boys trade off going to the downtown gym. It would have 2 courts instead of 1, like the downtown gym currently has. It would have 6 baskets instead of 4. Again, it would be a place where we could host NSAA and district events. It would also be a place where the students could have access to the gym, training, weights, and locker rooms before practice or after practice, because it would be right there, the same place that they are practicing. Okay? New locker rooms, we currently just have 2 locker rooms at the high school, which is difficult on a game night when our girls and our boys share the same locker room and the visiting team's girls and boys share the same locker room. It's also difficult if we host a sub-district or district tournament that we don't have a locker room for the competing teams. Everyone has to share. It also included a new wrestling room. Back in 1975 when the gym was built, we did not have wrestling. We do now, so we have made the elementary gym work. It'll also be a place for our little kids wrestling program, which meets a couple nights a week this time of year. And it would also free up a gym after school. If we have a wrestling room, then we no longer need to use the elementary gym, which is a great place for like 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th grade to practice basketball or other activities besides basketball would free up for. A new weight fitness room, again, we did not build that in 1975. Fitness has become a more and more important part of our curriculum. If you look at our curriculum in 1975 to where it is today, we just offer more things for fitness for students, and certainly healthy living is important to teach. There's another view from the top. This would be of the north addition with the practice gym, wrestling room, weight room, locker rooms. Okay? There's also restrooms and a training room in part of that addition also. A little bit about the financial part, and some of it I think is spelled out in the handouts you have. But this chart on the right shows the Fillmore Central levy history back in the first year we formed, 99-2000, to our current levy today. Okay? The project, this is a $9.8 million bond project. Okay? When this facilities committee and the architects first began working together, the project was about 12 to 14 million. That was including everything everybody wanted. And we felt like that price tag was too high. And so the committee worked very hard with the architects, with Sampson Construction, to get the price down under 10 million. Okay? And we feel like we're still getting everything that we need, everything for the school. We just worked hard at getting that price to a more acceptable level. It would be approximately 11.5 cents on our current valuation. And that's probably a little high. We want to estimate high. We don't want it to come in at 12 or whatever. So we're saying 11.5 is the maximum it would be. We totally expect next fall, if this would pass, when we levy for it next fall, that it will be less than 11.5 cents. Okay. Our current valuation is a little over $607 million, actually closer to $608 million. And every penny on our levy brings about $60,000, $60,795 to the district. We are allowed to have a maximum levy of $1.72 by the state of Nebraska. $1.05 is your levy cap, plus you can have any kind of an existing bond levy over the top of that. We do have a qualified capital purpose fund bond. It was a bond that we used to replace the heat and cooling system at the middle school and at the high school, and then also for the elementary roof. That bond will be done after the 2014 and 15 school year. Okay? So our current FC levy is 93.2 cents, so we're about 14 cents under our maximum. Okay? So we have an 87 cent general fund levy, a 4 cent building fund, and then we got that 2.2 cent qualified capital purpose fund levy, which will be done in a couple of years here. Okay? The last bond building levy was 6.26 cents, and that was in the 2002-2003 budget year. Okay? This table on the right shows the annual tax increase on this particular project based on our current valuation if we were to use those figures right now. Okay? And so, for example, on a $100,000 home, it would increase those annual taxes of property taxes of $115 a year. It would increase by that amount. Okay? Here is, it's kind of hard to see, but what this is it lists all the schools in our basic area within probably about a 50 to 60 mile radius, and it shows what their levies are. Their total levy out here to the right, their general fund levy, this bond fund levy in the middle, that's if they have some kind of a building project. Friend, for example, has 21 cent levy currently on their new high school. Seward, 16.9 cents, etc. And then a total levy out here. Fillmore Central has the 5th lowest levy of these 20-some odd schools. Okay? And that's the current levy as of this year. And so there's an arrow showing you where we're currently at. If you would add, if the bond would pass, and if you add the 11.5 cents to our levy, this is where it would be. And we would still be not only in the middle, but the upper part of the middle with our levy. Here's a little voter information. To register to vote, to do that in person, you have till March 2nd, which is coming up on us. And to vote by mail, or to register to vote by mail, is February 24th. And they do have early ballot applications or absentee ballots available, and you can just contact Amy Nelson and she will get you one of those. Okay? Well, I went through quick. I can go back to anything you'd like to go back, but this would be, I think, a great time for you to ask questions, and I'll try to best I can to give you the best answer I can.
What's the insurance going to be on this building?
The insurance?
Yeah.
Well, you mean the cost of insurance?
The cost of insurance on this building.
I'm not sure, Merlin. I know that. What we do right now, we pay about, I'm trying to think what we pay now for the 3 buildings. The 3 buildings together that we have are valued at about $23 million. And I'd hate to quote without looking up, but I can get that information to you, what that cost us a year. We pay by pretty much the year, or break it out over a month, but I don't know what it is, Merlin, right off the top of my head.
Okay. You didn't answer that one quite. What's it going to cost to heat and cool this building?
Well, we think it's going to cost less to heat and cool the addition than it does the downtown gym currently.
That's impossible. Do you know, the people in here, do you realize how big this building's going to be? All of you know what a football field looks like, right? It's going to be about 16 yards shorter than a normal football field. That's going to cover that much ground.
It's going to be about 36,000 square feet, the addition.
And what's a football field?
Football field would be, well, if you're doing 120 yards by, what is it, Ryan, 50?
It's 100 yards long and 50 yards wide.
We really think, Merlin, though, that things are so much more efficient today. Right now, like to heat our downtown gym, it's cheaper for us per square foot to heat our middle school and our elementary than it is to heat the downtown gym where we have no kids. It's cheaper. And that's just because of the age of the building, and it's just not, they're not built as energy efficient as today's buildings are. So, architects, can you?
Yeah, that's definitely true. I mean, the state is mandating through new energy codes more energy efficient buildings, and systems are just becoming more and more efficient every year. There's a real drive, both from a code standpoint and just a technology standpoint, to provide more and more energy efficient systems. And what we'll be doing as we get further into the design of this is looking at a variety of different systems to provide for the building that we can look at first cost versus maintenance cost versus total life cycle cost of each system, and make the best decision that with you guys based on the criteria that you want to make. But it is very true that systems are much more efficient now than what you used to.
Let me introduce some people, first of all. I'm sorry I forgot at the beginning. This is T.J. Shermer from Clark Anderson Partners, and Craig Geis from Samson Construction, Tim Ripp from Clark Anderson, Mark Munford from Emeritus, and they're part of our consortium. Jeff
Chadwick from Clark Anderson.
Jeff Chadwick, sorry Jeff. So, Merlin probably didn't answer your question again.
No. All right, if you're going to build this monstrosity building, how many more people are you going to have to hire to keep it clean?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, they all. I think they all are.
Right now we have, at the high school, what we have is a full-time custodian and then we have a night custodian that comes in and works about 6 hours. We may have to make our night custodian work 8 hours, but we think we can get it covered with that.
With the ones you got now?
Yes.
Yeah. I hope. I hope.
We believe we can.
I'm going to hold you to that.
I know you will. I know you will.
If I live long enough.
I know you will.
Damn right I will. Now, it's not going to be very many years if this goes through. The people that live in this district have got a $100,000 house, and people that work for this district is going to be asking for an increase in pay so they can pay for this tax.
That's
There's no
really,
doubt in my mind.
that's really what we're here for, Merlin, is to provide the information, and then people just have to decide if it's affordable or not affordable. That's what they have to decide. So this is the process we have to move our buildings forward. There's no other way to do it than this process. So
Now, and I bet nobody in here again realizes for every dollar I pay to the school district or to the county, my taxes, 46 cents of it goes to the school district. That's almost half. The rest of the county that I pay taxes on got to do with the others. And that includes the city, the whole county, the taxes for the rural fire department, the taxes for the fire department here in town. I think you're way over your limit now.
but if you looked at the sheet compared with other schools, we're pretty good. We're pretty low.
All right, how many schools are going to keep going at the minimum limit?
I don't know, but we're one of them.
We're one,
So
yes.
That's
yes.
nice.
But is it going to stay that way when you start paying more wages, more
Yeah.
heat, more lights?
I don't know that we can predict that, but I like our financial situation. We've done a good job, and
I don't think you have. The county, when you look at your tax sheet, the county, the whole county has got $2 million less in expenses than the Fairmont or Geneva school district. And I got it right here if you want to come and look at it. Now, what do they do with that other $2 million? And the county's got the whole county, not just part of it. I can show you another picture of the school districts. In Fillmore County, about half of it belongs to Geneva School District. The other ones are out. Is that right?
it could be. I'm not exactly sure of the other schools' exact land value in the county, but.
There's the map. Red, Geneva. This is Shaker. This is Exeter.
Looks like we're a little more than half, or
Not
right at
very
half.
much.
Yeah.
Not very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's the 2008 map.
It probably hasn't changed a whole lot
Not
since
very
then.
much.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Just-
might have changed the section or two.
Yeah.
something.
It would be pretty accurate, I think. Clark, did you have a question?
Yeah, my question is, and I think it's 2014, 2015, there's 2 or 2.2 cents coming off the levy. Was that figured in your numbers, or will that be taken off at 1.04?
I hadn't subtracted it off the 1.04, so that would be another 2.2 that would come off.
So it'd be like 1.025 or something like that?
Correct, but again, we're looking 2 years down the road. It's tough to predict, you know. We think this bond will be way under 11.5 cents also, because if our valuation goes up, we don't set our levy till next September, we think it'll be less than 11.5 cents. Well, we're trying not to mislead anybody, so we've estimated a little bit high on that, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How many children are you going to keep coming here? Every year you're going to get less and less and less children.
We're losing about, on average, we're losing about 6 to 7 students a year. That's on average over the last 10 years. So we have about 530 now.
Here's the birds that came in the signal, and I missed 2 months a year ago this spring. And you look at them and tell me how many of them are going to Geneva School.
Other questions, comments?
I've only got 6 copies, so I've got enough to go clear around.
I have a question.
Sure.
You said that we're losing students. Why are we losing students?
I think that's just the way it's going in rural America right now, I
I
think
didn't hear his question.
he's asked why we're losing students every year.
Okay, sorry.
And I think it's just really a trend. Rural schools lose students. The ones that gain students are either the metros or located on the interstate, things like that. I would say almost all of the rural schools are losing students. We're probably not losing as drastically as some. You know, part of the facilities committee's ideas too was the fact that, hey, we're surrounded by some schools smaller than us. What's going to happen 5, 10 years from now if they can't have school anymore? Are we going to grow? Is our numbers going to grow because they have to find something to do with their kids? So we want to be proactive and ready and have the kind of schools and school systems that people would want to go to if their school ends up closing. So I think it's a pretty proactive way of thinking on our facilities committee part.
You know, in 1963, I'm not trying to take over the whole show. In 1963, we moved to Fairmont. Mr. Delusion was on the school board at one time, and I drove a school bus. And you go a mile west of town to the county line is 4¼ miles. We had 10 homes there, livable homes people was living in. 10 of them. Today there's 2. So how are you going to increase? You go between Fairmont and Geneva on Highway 81. How many homes are left on that distance of road? Where are you going to get more kids if the people ain't out there? How many women do you see on the street in Geneva and Fairmont in the birth age between 20 and 40, I'll say, that are pregnant? They're few and far between.
I would like to address his comment. And first of all, let me say, I respect everything you've said. Every comment, everything you've made are comments that have come up in the facility committee meetings from the very beginning. I work in real estate, so I get the joy of showing a lot of new people that come to town. And although I agree there's a lot of kids that are born that don't end up graduating from Fillmore Central, I think we have a tremendous amount moving back to Geneva and Fairmont right now. I have 15 people that have called me in the last 3 months that are moving to Fillmore County they've got a job and now they're looking for housing. I think this is one of the most exciting times that I've been part of, and we've been here for 21 years. And also, the last thing I wanted to address to you is I will invest in our children any day.
So will I.
Thank you.
You know, a lot of you people know me. I had 5 boys and 1 girl. And at one time, up here at school, they was having some kids that had trouble, which is normal. If they're not having troubles, they're sick. And I told the parent that I thought every kid that went to school ought to be in some extra activity to keep them out of trouble. And I still think that. And I also think that the day they drop out of, or leave high school, they ought to go to the service for 2 years. Wouldn't this be great? Then they would know what they want to do instead of go raise hell.
College.
Sir, do you have a question?
What's going to happen with the existing gym?
The downtown gym?
It's going to be tore down and redone, or
We
what?
really haven't. His question is what's going to happen with the downtown gym should this pass, correct? We don't really have a plan at this point in time. Certainly, you know, my recommendation to the board would be that it would be a liability for the school. We don't need it anymore. No reason to heat it. No reason to keep it up. My hope would be that we would sell it. Somebody would want it. That would be the ideal situation. But it would be, again, tearing it down would be difficult because it's attached to another building. So you'd have to do that very delicately if you're going to do that. We also have the senior citizens use the school-owned the old cafeteria part. We certainly don't want to kick them out until they're ready to go, but it would just be one of those things we would have to talk about. You know, we don't have to make a decision if this doesn't pass, and so we're kind of waiting to see. We would have, it takes about 16 to 18 months to build from the time the bond would pass, so we would have plenty of time to make up our minds as to what we're going to do. But thank you, it was a good question.
Well, I assume this new plan, it calls for a new gym, right?
Mhm.
Well, I tell you, if this does pass, which is anybody's guess right now, is I certainly hope they don't scrimp on the seating, the quality of the seating. And I hope it make it accessible for some older people to get up into the seating area comfortably without falling down or attempting to fall down. It's hand railings.
Sure.
Keep the kids off the places where people walk. I mean, I would really do some looking around and find some really nice, comfortable seating as much as possible.
You bet.
For people to be, I mean, if they're gonna pay to be entertained, they ought to be somewhat comfortable while they're sitting there doing it, you know?
I would agree. I would agree.
The state farm work is going to make us provide a certain amount of handicap seating. Things like handrails and guardrails are code required, so it'll have to be part of the project.
When we were meeting with the facilities committee to come up with the design of the building, one of the big considerations was access to not only the auditorium but the gym, and how to get people who maybe don't move around so well, how to get them in. So there were several different options that were looked at in the location of the gym and the auditorium, but one of the reasons why it's located back on the northeast corner is accessibility from this parking lot that's just out to the east. So that we can get people directly into the gym, no stairs, just ease of access was a really big consideration. And same thing obviously was the auditorium sitting right out in front of the school.
Chris?
What'd you take out if it was 12 to 14 million to start with?
Oh, we had talked about putting a kitchen in the elementary. We don't have a kitchen.
I worked that, that's not funny.
Yeah. And we talked about a performance gym, and we settled on a practice gym. I can't recall everything. Some of it was just a matter of, you know, we originally wanted to use the slant on the west side of the building. Well, that's a lot of cost for the dirt work and whatever, so we changed it to the north and south. So
we had one of the initial options had the gym located a little bit further to the west, with a renovation through the school and a new kind of open up commons area. However, that remodel was more expensive. So we went, I don't remember exactly, I think we went from 2 options to begin with to 4 or 5, and then back down to the option that you have with input from the facilities committee. So just how the buildings were oriented on site really affected the cost as well.
I think we talked about a walking track too around the gym, and if we could have a sunken gym. So some of those things kind of went by the wayside, but we kept the basis of the plan, the things that we felt were important, that were most needed by our students. So.
If it doesn't pass, then what?
Not sure. I think, you know, we maybe survey the public and find out what they did or didn't like about it, or was the cost too high, or did they feel it was unnecessary, and then, you know, wait and see. Maybe we put the facilities committee back to work just to find something different. You know, again, 37 years was a long time to do nothing to your building, so I think it's only a matter of time that we would have to do something, you know, so.
Do you have to legally get the downtown gym up to code, no matter what?
No, he hasn't. There's been nobody demanding us to do that, but, you know, it's not handicap accessible, so the first time somebody with accessibility problems that wants to come in and watch a game, I mean, certainly they could file something against us, but at this point in time, that hasn't happened.
Well, I can't believe a school hasn't, like, complained with those locker rooms that they have.
Oh, I think they've complained.
Have they?
Yeah. Sir?
Who gets to vote on this?
Whoever gets to vote you have to be a registered voter, and you have to live in the Fillmore Central School District.
If you own land from the outside, you didn't get to vote for it then, did you?
Nope, you don't get to vote.
If you own the building, you couldn't then.
No, you got to be a resident of the district and a registered voter.
Well, I don't think that's very fair at all.
That's the law, so
Well,
I don't write the laws.
That's what it should be.
But if you know, if you own land in 3 different counties, should you get a vote in all 3?
Should be, if they're building in all 3.
Yeah, it should, they used to.
Gene?
I'd like to expand on what Mrs. Jacobson said and what Mr. Beaman said. There are less farms, but those farms are considerably more productive. And just in the village of Fairmont, in 10 years, we've added 50-some jobs. And we have another project being built next year, which is another 7 jobs. So those 60-some jobs are going to create students at some point, or if they haven't already. I mean, I don't know exactly where those people live, but just because there's less farms doesn't mean there's going to be less families.
Mr. Klein?
Mark, I know you've talked about this a little bit more in some of the other meetings, but maybe explain some of the dialogue that the committee had in terms of talking about the safety factor with kids traveling, various practices on outside, and being able to consolidate everything on the one side.
Sure, sure. Currently, and I'll just talk about the winter months right now. Currently, when we practice after school, the wrestlers travel to the elementary gym and roll out the mats and practice there. And then either the girls or the boys, they take turns. One of them stays at the high school, one of them travels to the downtown gym. And certainly we have students age 14 and 15 that have to find a ride with someone or have to have mom and dad pick them up and take them or whatever. But it is kind of a problem. I think we probably have people that ride and drive illegally, but we're worried more just about student safety, and certainly this would be a way to keep everybody on campus and close and not have to do that transportation back and forth. So certainly, that's an issue. At least for the committee, it was an issue with some of the parents, and I can understand that a great deal. So, Chris?
One Act is also that way. I know you were just talking about the winter, but during the fall, when the One Act kids, they have to go down the Rialto. Also, with parents and kids in One Act, when we host districts and the L Street invite that's in April now, our kids perform at the Rialto, which is wonderful, and it's a historical thing to have, but we can't, the kids can't change in the theater. We have to work in agreement, and the Congregational Church allows us to use their building. So we have to use that building across there for the kids to change and get ready to perform. Whereas the Performing Arts Center, everything would be done in one place.
And parking is a problem there too.
There's no parking.
And parking at the downtown gym is a big problem also for game nights too. So, PR.
Mark, my question, talking about the enrollment and the decrease in students, which is just happening here, as far as the amount of dollars we pay for our school district in this county, we've got a cabin in Merritt County, it's pretty similar. I mean, I don't care what county you're in, it's pretty similar. But the question that comes to my mind is, when you guys were talking about this, the addition of that facility and the performing arts and everything, there was discussion with other school districts, Shickley in particular, about wanting to come this way and everything else. In any of the conversation or any of the members of the committee's conversation with anybody that happens to be in those districts, like Shickley and Bruning and Exeter and Milligan, because I'm telling you the time's coming. Sooner or later, our state senators are going to get a few cojones and make some decisions in the state that need to be made instead of arguing about whether it's sparrow should roost in the state house. But was there, in any of that discussion, do you feel that this gives us maybe an edge as opposed to the increased mill levy? Because I think I see a lot of these people looking at mill levy when they're thinking, Any discussion, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, the facilities committee did feel like that we would really enhance our position if we had the best facilities in the county for schools in case that ever did happen. Our policy is always to keep our door open to discussions with any of the neighboring schools. We currently Shickley has 3 students that come up for calculus every day at Geneva, and they have students every semester come up, but there happen to be 3 girls, I think, right now. Ryan is 3 girls that come up. We also share an art teacher with Exeter Milligan. Okay, she's half-time at Fillmore Central and half-time at Exeter Milligan. That's just two things that we do, and our door is always open to listen to anything they want to do. Because I think down the road that we're sitting in the best position of all the schools around us as far as size, and certainly to make our facilities better, I think is only to our advantage. You know,
Well, it's our salvation if we can get them to come here. Not only the land they bring with them, but their students, the quality students they have.
So
Continue us on out.
Right.
And if we want to continue to have a middle school, which I think is a great teaching tool that separates those kids from the other, we need to have them in here. And anything we can do to encourage them to come this way when that decision comes.
I've been waiting for that question. Nobody's asked it yet. So
How you ever gonna get Sutton to come this way?
I don't care about that.
They got 56 quarters, or 56 sections in Fillmore County.
There's some real nice land that's involved in these other districts, and I'll tell you, they're all on the edge. At some point in time, our state legislature is going to wake up. They haven't yet. When Portson was in there asking that question every week at the hospital about consolidation, and he finally would not call on me anymore. But how we present ourselves, I think, weighs heavily. I mean, do you see Cornerstone Bank existing just in York? No, they're spreading out. Do you see Geneva State Bank going into other towns? Why is that? Because their base is getting smaller number-wise. So they expand their district, they expand their area. I don't, you know, whether this is the answer to get us there or not, I have no idea, Merlin, but standing still doesn't get us anywhere.
On that same note, if you look at the schools around us, the competing schools that where these kids are going to go, York just passed a bond, Friend just built a new gym, Sutton has 2 gyms on their facility. You look at BDS and you know the money down there, they're not going to sit very long. Thayer Central is adding another gym and improving their track and football field. If we don't do this now, the kids that we're competing for aren't going to come here. Because everybody else around us has already started their projects.
Clark,
I do have another comment that kind of echoes the last 2 comments, is that for years in school, I mean, they've been hurting for students, and they're not bashful about advertising and recruiting students. And now you start seeing it from Bruning Davenport too. I think there was an editorial in the paper about how great their school district is, and they're not saying that just because they're proud. They're doing that to get students, and you know, they're aiming for students that we're trying to get or trying to keep. And so, you know, whether we want it to happen or not, it's kind of a battle for students. You know, we didn't start it, but that's the way it is, and we have to make sure that we provide the best education and the best facilities available.
One thing we did look at when we were kind of locating additions was if you do have another district opt in, is there space to build more classrooms? So the area above the science rooms, this west corridor could be extended, and you could add more classrooms to the building without affecting what's there. Not to look too far down the road, but it was considered when we were looking at locations for addition.
what else can I
Anybody in here
answer?
know how many dollars I gotta invest in the bank to get $115 to pay taxes? And today's interest. I showed Jerry Galusha, he can't believe it either.
Know nothing about money.
Has anybody looked into it?
Your wife has it all, right?
My wife did.
I gotta invest $21,698 in the bank to get enough interest to pay $115.
You need to find a better investment.
Huh? You go right to the local bank and see what you get.
Mark, are you, and I might have missed it too, but are you expanding on the current gym at all? I'm just thinking as far as seating, increasing seating for like larger, NSA tournaments?
No.
Or is the current gym going to stay the way it
Yep,
is?
current gym will just stay what it is. Currently it seats about just a little under 1,100, and we really don't, at least haven't filled it for anything in my time here. It's gotten pretty full. Maybe district wrestling, something like that's been about the fullest we've got it probably. Kevin?
Yeah. I've never been in your middle school facility, but is that a possible? I have no clue what you got for a facility as far as a gym. Is that an alternative route for drama, speech, type atmosphere? I'm just asking because I've never been there.
No, and we need to talk about the middle school anyway, because we're very proud of this facility up here in Fairmont, and we have no plans to close it. I've heard the rumor many times, but we like the 5th through 8th grade up here. It's a great building. It's ran well. Our test scores are fantastic. Some of the top in the state of Nebraska for test scores. And again, we feel like it's because of our quality of staff we have up here. Plus, it's also the way we do things curriculum-wise at the middle school. We already use this gym for PE classes and practices after school. So it's really not available for anything at those times. We already use it all the time. So it's really not a solution for any of these particular things. It's already getting used. It's going to continue to get used just like it has before. We have the only middle school in the conference, and people talk to me all the time and say, why don't you close that building? And I like to turn it around the other way and say, ask a Milford or a Sutton or a David City and say, hey, if you already had a $8 or $9 million building 8 miles away and it was all paid for, wouldn't you love to have it for your middle school? I bet they'd all jump at it. They'd all jump at it. And yet we talk about eliminating it when we have a great situation. So I've never talked about eliminating it, and I probably never will. I think it's a great facility for our kids. Our parents love it. I've had 2 kids go through it. I got one going there now, and I just think it's a fantastic place to educate kids. And Mark Norvell will not be in favor of closing it anytime in the near future. I think it does something for us, and it's a great building. So my plan is to keep it there forever. The board did talk about it last Monday night at the board meeting, and it received nothing but support from the people that spoke on it. It was very supportive. So our plans are to keep it. And so if you're hearing that rumor, you can squelch that because it's not true. It's a great facility. It's run by good people. It has good staff in it. Our kids and our parents love it. Be foolish on our part to eliminate something that does great things for us. Currently at the elementary, and people I've had to answer this question also, well, you could go back to being a K-6 elementary and put everybody in the elementary. Well, no, we can't. We have 4 of those rooms there now that we use for preschool, ages 3 and 4. 4 rooms in the morning that are preschool. We didn't have that 10 years ago, but now we do. We've stopped a lot of our interventions and problems we have with kids having some difficulty learning by starting them a lot sooner. So we have 4 classrooms down there that are ages 3 and 4. And we might go back to 3 classrooms some years, but it's taken up some of our space, but it's taken up in a good way. It's given us an advantage of providing education to that age group. So we can't go back to the K-6, 7, 12 without causing us a great deal of difficulty. So I'm very happy that we have the Fairmont building and that we have a place for our middle school kids.
Mark, if this doesn't pass, what do we have invested in just getting up to this point? Because I know when you hire architects and do building diagrams and everything, that costs money. So if this bond issue fails, how much money have we more or less wasted on getting to this point?
These good people that we have hired, they've agreed basically to work for nothing unless the bond passes. So we might pay them a little mileage and give them a couple sodas now and then, but that's about it. So they've done a lot for us free of charge.
And that's very unusual.
They're just good people and they like me a lot. That's it.
We know that it's we know that it's difficult for schools to pay for basically free bond services until you get a bond issue, and so in this way, I think Craig would agree. We're invested, you know, in the project, and don't get me wrong. There's, you know, we hope that you'll pay us if the bond issue passes, and we, you know, that would be a good thing. But to do this and to get things on the right foot, that's just kind of the way we feel about it.
So we don't have a lot invested, a lot of time, but it's been good time. It's been, again, the thing that I'm proudest of about this project is it started from the people, the parents that really over the last 2.5 years has brought this forward to the board. It wasn't my initiative, it was them. We started the ball rolling with talking about the downtown gym, and you can see where it went from there. And so it certainly had good momentum, and it's people that care about Fillmore County and the Fillmore Central School District, and we just have a lot of great things happening right now with the new hospital. Beautiful place, open house I think this Sunday. It's a great addition to the county. I think the Geneva Home Center, the former Gambles, what a beautiful addition. What a great thing. And you know, this issue's different because this issue, you know, is tax dollars. Those other two issues really haven't been tax dollars, have they? So this is the difference, and that's why we're trying to give you as much information as we can, and the people will get a chance to vote on that. So, sir.
9.8 million, right? Mm-hmm. How much, is this a turnkey thing then? In other words, what I'm saying is once this money's spent, all the facilities are going to be stocked. The weight equipment's going to be in there. The bleachers, the chairs, the lab equipment, the seating, everything. It's a turnkey deal.
Yes, sir.
And what you're saying is the heating and air conditioning and maintenance and cleaning is going to come out of the general fund. And that's not going to put a burden on the general fund to speak of.
I don't believe it will. No. I don't believe it will. Well, I will stick around if you've got some questions you'd like to ask that you'd rather do privately than in public, but thank you very much.
How much data do they have?